My fiance doesn't know that my ex-boyfriend pays for all my bills and my student loans. Am I the asshole for not telling him? Although I do love my fiance, he really never offers to pay for things unless I ask him to. And not that I need him to pay, but it would be nice to know that he has my back for once. After a year of dating, we got engaged. And we've been engaged now for 2 months. I will say my fiance is definitely one of my best friends. I literally can tell this man anything and he never judges me. He's also my hype man, and he's also super funny and we laugh like all day long. So this is the part where I have to tell you about my ex. My ex and I were together for 4 years. He is a very, very successful man, very rich and very handsome. And the reason we broke up is because we would get into really bad fights. He was extremely jealous and so was I. The relationship was absolutely completely toxic. So it's not like I want to get back with him, but he was the kind of guy that paid for everything. Even if I had the money to pay for shit, he would always offer to pay for me. We were so attracted to each other, but we were crazy. When we broke up, my ex told me that he would always help me financially no matter what. He's obviously kept his promise to this day. Part 2 is up. My fiance does not know that my ex pays for my bills and my student loans. Am I the asshole for not telling him? After my crazy toxic relationship with my ex, he promised he would always help me financially. So in 2020 when I lost my job, I hit him up and he sent me money right away. He sent me $10,000 to start with. I paid bills and some of my student loans off, and 3 months later I asked him for another 10 grand. But he actually sent me 30 instead. This held me over for almost a full year. This was right around the time that I met my now fiance. When my fiance and I started dating, of course I was not going to tell him that my ex was paying for my stuff. He just assumed that I had money saved up. Luckily last year, I did get rehired at my old job, but with a pay cut. When my fiance and I moved in together, I asked him if he could pay most of the rent, and he said no. He said he was only able to pay for half of the rent, and he literally splits everything. This man even makes me split the cost of toilet paper. I get a Venmo request from him almost every single day every time he buys something. I'm trying not to let it bother me, but at the same time, is he going to be able to support me when I'm pregnant? I asked him if he would be willing to help me financially. He said no. Part 3 is up. My fiance doesn't know that my ex is paying for my student loans and my bills. Am I the asshole for not telling him? That's when I asked my fiance if he could help me out financially. This man said no. I was actually shocked. I started to cry and I told him exactly what I thought. First off, he makes me split everything and never invites me out to dinner. Like, never offers to pay for anything. Even if I wanted like a cookie or something at Starbucks, he doesn't pay for that. I have offered to pay for things for him. Sometimes I'll buy dinner for us on the way home and I don't ask him to pay me. I was really close to confessing to him that my ex was paying for a lot of stuff for me. But that's when my fiance told me that he just thinks it's fair for me to pay for my own things. I asked him, what about when I'm pregnant? What if I can't work? He says that I can just pay for my stuff with my own savings. Then I asked him if he would be able to pay for all the kids' things. He said no, that I would have to pay for exactly half of the kids' things. And I know what you're thinking. The fact that we didn't have this conversation before we got engaged is crazy. Now I really want to tell him about my ex. And I'm even thinking about getting back with my crazy ex. My fiance is just so blah now to me. Like I can't even look at him the same way anymore. I know I'm not being unreasonable. It's not like I'm asking him to pay for everything. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for causing a scene at my mother-in-law's wedding after I found out that my husband was there against my wishes? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My husband's mom and I, female 26, don't get along at all. It was fine at first until our disagreements started to get bigger. Our last disagreement was because of her wanting to sell the family house and give her older son more money than my husband. My mother-in-law told me to stay out of it and my husband said he was fine with it. She ended up putting some distance between us and stopped inviting me to events. Which was fine, but I told my husband I expected him to stay home with me when I'm not invited. She got married a few days ago. It goes without saying that I wasn't invited. I asked my husband to promise to stay home with me and not go. He got defensive and said that this was his mom's wedding and there was no reason for him to not attend. I refused to speak to him after a big argument about it. He eventually said that he'd stay home with me. However, on the day of the wedding, he said he was going to hang out with some friends. I was skeptical, so I called his friends and they said they didn't see him. Am I the asshole for causing a scene at my mother-in-law's wedding after I found out that my husband was there against my wishes? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I was skeptical, so I called his friends and they said they didn't see him. I knew he was at the wedding. I felt betrayed and I wanted to catch him red-handed, so I got dressed and went to his mom's wedding. He was actually there. I was so mad when I saw him. He saw me and started following me as I was making my way out. I yelled at him, calling him a liar and manipulator. He tried to get me to quiet down since people were staring, but I lost it on him and said that he betrayed the promise he made to me and that his word meant shit to me. He got defensive and said that he really wanted to be there for his mom, but at the same time couldn't handle me being upset with him and giving him silence, so he hid it from me. I told him to get out of my face and went home. He came back home saying I made a scene at his mom's wedding and humiliated him when I started yelling at him. I refused to argue, but his family came at me calling me horrible and controlling, saying that my husband is a saint for still enduring the shitty behavior of mine. I blocked his sister who was constantly arguing. Me and my husband haven't talked since. Am I the asshole for calling my housemates selfish because they keep food in their rooms instead of our kitchen? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I'm a first-year university student and just last week moved into my halls. I live with 7 other people, all freshmen, in a sort of a flat. Our halls are divided into flats, so it's a big flat with 8 rooms, 2 bathrooms, and a huge kitchen. Unfortunately, I was quite unlucky with my housemates. We are already having issues. Our kitchen has 2 big fridges, so everyone has a shelf and we all have our own cabinet. I've been trying to eat healthy, so I've only been buying myself healthy food and no sweets or snacks. I'm fine during the day, but I get cravings at night when I'm watching stuff. One night I decided to raid the kitchen and found some chocolate on someone's shelf, so I took it. The next night I was hungry and saw yogurts in the fridge. I wanted to take one but ended up eating all of them. I wanted to buy more to replace them, but they were so expensive. I got something else too, and that's when a note appeared in the kitchen to not take stuff that isn't ours. I thought it was so rude. At least be an adult and speak directly. Am I the asshole for calling my housemates selfish because they keep food in their rooms instead of our kitchen? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I thought it was so rude. At least be an adult and speak directly and not leave passive-aggressive notes. I've taken a few more things after that, but noticed that my housemates stopped buying the good stuff and there was nothing on their shelves. Then we had a housemate meeting and turns out they've been keeping it in their rooms, which I thought was selfish, so I told them that and they called me an inconsiderate asshole. Last night, one of my housemates had her friend over and she told us we could all join. I was in the kitchen making dinner while they were having drinks and they asked me to join. I asked my housemate if she had any liquor because I didn't buy any and joked if she keeps it stashed in her room. Her friend whispered to her, "Is that her?" and she nodded. I called her a bullying bitch and left the kitchen. I spoke to my family and they agreed that there was nothing wrong with what I did. But my housemates reported me to the housing department and I have a meeting tomorrow, which means that maybe I was in the wrong. So am I the asshole for taking some snacks and calling them selfish?
Am I the asshole for wanting to tell my stepdaughter that her dad installed a tracking device in the new car he bought her for her 18th birthday?
Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, female 36, have been married to my husband for 3 years. He has one daughter, Christine. She'll soon be 18 years old and he's bought her a new car as her birthday gift. Here's the thing, Christine's mom is deceased. She has a good relationship with me. In fact, not too long ago, she told me I was like a second mom to her. This, of course, means everything to me. However, she and her dad don't get along that much. I have to say that he's incredibly overprotective of her and has done things that affected their relationship. Like how he caused her to break up with her ex-boyfriend after he got diagnosed with multiple health conditions. Because of that, Christine has grown distant from her dad. For her 18th birthday, he wanted to throw her a big celebration and buy her the car she always wanted as a way to reconcile with her. They're on okay terms, but he says he wants to gain her trust back. 2 days ago, I overheard him speaking with a friend of his about installing a tracking device in the new car. I was shocked. Am I the asshole for wanting to tell my stepdaughter that her dad installed a tracking device in the new car he bought her for her 18th birthday? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I brought it up with him later at night and told him how wrong this was. He said that it was none of my business, but I told him that if and when Christine finds out, then there's going to be trouble. He got upset and went on about how he's just doing this out of concern and protection for her and said that it was none of my business because I didn't buy the car. I said he's unreasonable and if he didn't back off, then I'll tell her at the party when he hands her the keys. He called me crazy and said that I shouldn't have been snooping and listening to his private talks in the first place. I said I would tell her, but he told me to stay out of it since it's his daughter, not mine, and that if I wanted to parent my way, then I was free to have my own children. This stung because he knows I can't have kids due to infertility problems. We argued about it and I said I would still tell her. He called me unhinged and said I get no say, nor do I have the right to get involved whatsoever. I talked with my mom and she agreed it was none of my business. She told me to stay out of it and not try to stir drama and cause a scene. Am I the asshole for kicking my wife out of the car on the way to my friend's wedding after I discovered that she was wearing a white dress underneath the blue dress? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, male 33, have a close friend Tom, male 34. He got married to his wife Lauren, female 32, a few days ago. My wife Hannah, female 30, has never gotten along with Lauren. There's no reason in particular, but Hannah claims that Lauren is full of herself and has fake beauty. I tried to get to the bottom of why they didn't get along but couldn't figure it out. When Hannah and I attended the engagement party, she and Lauren ended up getting into an argument because Hannah called Lauren controlling when Lauren jokingly said that she picked out Tom's suit for the occasion. We had to leave early, but Tom was incredibly understanding of the situation. We were invited to the wedding and Hannah casually showed me a white dress that she said she was going to wear. I snapped and told her that the dress was off limits, but she threw a fit saying I get zero say in what she should wear. I told her if I saw her wearing the dress then I wouldn't take her to the wedding. She then showed me a blue dress. Am I the asshole for kicking my wife out of the car on the way to my friend's wedding after I discovered that she was wearing a white dress underneath the blue dress? Disclaimer, this is not my story. She then showed me a blue dress that she decided to wear to the wedding.
I waited on her in the car while she was getting ready. She wore her blue dress like she said and had a jacket cover her upper body. As I was driving, I brought up the white dress issue and why I didn't agree on it because it's not acceptable to wear white if you're not the bride. She smiled and said to me she would prove to me that it was perfectly alright to do that. I looked at her and caught a glimpse of a white strap on her shoulder. I asked if she was wearing the white dress underneath the blue dress and she denied it. I stopped the car and told her to take her jacket off. She refused, but I insisted. She took it off and part of the white dress was showing underneath the blue dress. Apparently she was planning on taking off the blue dress when she got there, but I told her to get out of the car. She started arguing, but I told her to get out. She got out crying and I ended up going to the wedding alone and she was waiting for me at home. When I did, she called me an asshole for kicking her out the car, for making her miss the wedding and trying to control what she wears.